Do you ever feel small? If you do, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, heck, the world is a big place. In fact, the universe is gargantuan. Just look up at the night sky sometime. You'll see that. Alright, I'm gonna turn the light back on. Today we're gonna look at a monster that takes that fear of being very tiny by taking something that's usually smaller than us and blowing up to gigantic proportions. It's time to check the bestiary on giant bugs. It's gonna make my skin crawl. So I know this isn't the usual kind of cryptid we tackle on Check the Bestiary, but if you think about it, giant bugs show up all over the place. From Middle-earth to Skyrim, Glandathu to Skull Island, these plus-size creepy crawlies just seem to end up everywhere. And if there are monsters out there, it is my personal responsibility to educate you about them. So let's talk about giant bug physiology. And yes, we will be lumping insects and arachnids both into the giant banner term of bug. Most of the dangerous bugs out there will be similar to the kind you might find here on Earth. The sheer amount of variation and diversity of these monsters makes them pretty difficult for me to narrow down to any one category, since really any large version of what we would call a bug could fit into this category. That said, here are some common traits to look out for. Most bugs have a chitinous exoskeleton. When scaled up to colossal sizes, this exoskeleton can become really thick armor, protecting the creature from heavy damage. Whether acting alone or in groups, you always need to be on your guard around these things because they have a lot of potential weaponry. Their weaponry might include fangs, stingers, pincers, or heck, just their sheer size if they're big enough. Many of these titans would also have biological weaponry, unpredictable stuff that you'd really have to look out for, like venom that could cause anything from paralysis to outright death. If you find yourself up against a large arachnid, and that means spiders, look out for traps and web snares because that's how these big guys usually hunt. In short, you really need to be prepared for anything, because these are some unpredictable little buggers. Anything that happens in the insect world might happen here on a much grander scale. But where do these giant bugs come from? Sometimes they're just from another world where everything's bigger or kind of magical, like Glandathu or Middle-earth. That's usually the simplest answer. Sometimes they're created by a science experiment gone terribly wrong, like the giant tarantula from Tarantula. Who names this? Come on, where are you? Or basically any bug in the Fallout franchise. Ugh, blood bugs freak me out. Ugh. But to me, the most interesting place that giant bugs could come from is from the ancient past. Either freed from a glacier or a long-sealed cave, the ancient world is actually the most plausible place for them to come from, because there was a time when massive bugs actually existed right here on planet Earth. Now, in order to understand how this change in bugs happened, we need to understand the way that bugs breathe. Insects and arachnids don't have lungs the way that we do. In fact, the only way that most breathe is by letting air seep in through tiny holes along their body. Now, millions of years ago, our planet used to be very different. The oxygen levels in our atmosphere used to be absolutely insanely off the charts. And because of this, bugs grew to massive sizes because there was just enough oxygen to support them. As time went on and the atmosphere changed, the bigger bugs died off because, well, they suffocated. They just couldn't breathe. But because they have an exoskeleton, they left almost their entire bodies fossilized in the ground for us to find. And their smaller cousins lived on into the modern day. If you need any more proof, just look at where we find the biggest bugs on our planet today. Rainforests, the most oxygen-rich environments on Earth. Plants started pumping out so much of it that the bugs get to grow to the size of your face. How cool is that? I mean, not that there are giant bugs, because but the fact that these creatures really existed at one time. Now it's time for the most important question on the show. What do giant bugs represent? Because all good monsters represent a real fear that people have. Well, the easy answer is just to say that people are afraid of bugs. Because it's true, a lot of people are hardwired to be afraid of things that creep and crawl along the ground. So making that huge kind of makes it all the more terrifying, right? I don't think that's all of it though. Another answer could be that it's a way to warn people against tampering with nature. Again, because of things like Tarantula and Fallout series, where radiation causes these bugs to turn into massive monsters that can destroy towns. But that's not it either, because there are plenty of giant bugs that just exist without human tampering. No, the fear that giant bugs represent is the fear of insignificance. Take something that's so small and insignificant as an ant and blow it up to gigantic, gargantuan sizes, larger than you or I. And what does that make us? Something that's smaller than even a bug. We become the bug to the bug. Most people are afraid of feeling like they don't matter, of feeling insignificant. It's called an existential crisis. I have one basically every 2 weeks. Giant bugs are found whenever humans have either overstepped their bounds and created a monster they can't contain anymore, or they're found in the lost, forgotten places of the world, deep dungeons, forbidden forests, places where human beings have no power, places that are still wild and untamed. That is what giant bugs represent. That's why we're afraid of them. Human beings like to think we're the biggest, most powerful things on this planet, but a giant bug is a great reminder of how small we actually are. So that's it for this episode of Check the Bestiary. I hope you had fun and maybe learned how to appreciate the little things in life just a bit more. As always, I'm Sam McCoy, the MC Coy, and remember, if you run into a giant bug, I hope you're wearing a big boot. See you later. So many flashbacks to Halloween nights with my dad watching monster movie marathons with the Black Scorpion and Deadly Mantis. Classic giant bug movies that made up my childhood and I forgot until about the time I decided to make this video. So if you made it all the way through this, thank you very much for not getting grossed out at the little creepy crawly bugs. I did my best to make sure the footage wasn't too bad for the viewers to sit through. But you made it to the end slate, you're listening to me talk now, so you must have liked it. And if you did, you can check out some more of the Check the Bestiary episodes right here. But if you're interested in seeing something that isn't a Check the Bestiary episode, you can click right here. And that'll take you to something completely different that you just gotta trust me on. So at this point I'm rambling, so I'm just gonna say I hope you had fun, and I will see you later. Bye!